Sound check, sound check, sound check. Yanni, Laurel, Yanni, Laurel. Maybe I should do a quick poll. Who here's Yanni? That's it? Who here's Laurel? If you don't know what I'm talking about, download Reddit or something, or welcome back from your vacation. Hope it was good. Welcome to the Product Roadmap, the San Francisco Product Summit. We are super excited to have you all here. I see you guys on your phones during the event, I assume that you are sharing how good this event is on social media, in which case, please use the hashtag roadmap. And if you want us to retweet you and make you a social influencer, please include us in your tweets. We are at Amplitude HQ. Don't tag Amplitude Mobile. That's a bot that may or may not troll you. I see a lot of great faces in this audience. We have hundreds and hundreds of product managers here from companies like Airbnb and Lyft and Pinterest, Facebook, Uber, people who are really defining what the global digital experience is like. So it's a very exciting night. And over the next 2 hours, you get a chance to meet each other, and you get a chance to hear from 8 humble and accomplished speakers who have really led the direction of the technology industry in their own fields over the last few years. So I can't wait to hear what they have to say. They're going to share lessons about what made them successful, about what they have learned about the craft of product management over their careers. But I am Sandhya Hegde. I'm the Director of Product at Amplitude. And a little bit about Amplitude, we work with about 20,000 companies all over the world to help them reinvent how they build product and modernize their organizations. We have the privilege of working with companies like Microsoft, PayPal, Adidas, Verizon, Twitter, and I'm really delighted to see a lot of them in the audience today right now. So to kick us off, what I would love to do is introduce you all to the CEO of Amplitude. Where is Spenser Skates? Spenser, come on stage. Big round of applause, everybody.
Thank you, Sandhya. Awesome. So firstly, welcome all to Roadmap San Francisco Product Summit. I'm incredibly excited to spend tonight with you all. It's going to be good. So just quickly, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Amplitude. Our mission at Amplitude is to help companies build better products. Can we take a quick poll of the room? Who here wants to build a better product? Awesome. All right. We're in the right room. That's really good to know. So I wanted to start today's series of conversations off with a little bit about how building great products has changed and what it means to build a great product in today's day and age. So the first thing I want to talk about is what it means to be a great digital product has really evolved a lot over the last 10 years. So if you think back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of products were just, single pages where you're just coming in, you're having a page view, and then you're leaving the product. Like if you think of Netflix as an example, Netflix was a form for ordering DVDs online through the mail. But now, if you think of what products are today, they're much, much deeper experiences. So to go on the Netflix example, you're spending hours within the digital product. You're interacting with it. You're in some ways forming a relationship with your digital product. And what's really interesting. So this is a study from MIT where they found that the average consumer spends around 200 minutes a day in digital products. And what's interesting is that if you think about how a consumer uses digital products, it's not just what we think of as the stereotype of digital products in our head. So it's not just social media or gaming applications. It's things like this is how people are getting their work done. This is how people are managing their finances or managing their healthcare. It's even this is how some people are taking care of their families. And so products are touching every part of our lives in a very different way from how they did when the internet first was around. So that's the first really big change to understand. The second thing I wanted to talk about is how quickly the landscape of products is changing. So the internet took about 8 years to go from 0 users to 100 million users. Does anyone want to volunteer and answer a quick quiz? Does anyone know how long it took Pokemon Go to get to 100 million users? Any volunteers want to throw out a guess? 3 days. Awesome. Whoa, someone's been looking at my slide deck in advance. So it took 3 days. And so now the landscape is changing instead of on the order of years, on the order of days. And so in order to be successful, you need to be able to change it that quickly as well. It's no longer good enough to set like a years-long roadmap and just to stick with it. You need to be able to adapt in the same way the current product landscape is adapting. The last thing I want to talk about is how much more competitive it is today. So this was a survey that Gartner did that they found there was something like 5 million digital products out there. But what was really interesting is if you look at how many of those products are going to be considered a financial success in 2018, only 0.01% of those products will hit that mark. And so that means for every successful Netflix or Pokemon Go or Spotify, there are 9,999 other products that don't end up being a massive success. And so while it's much easier to build a product today, to build a great product is actually harder because the competition and the bar and what consumers expect is much, much higher. And so what does that mean for all of us? What does that mean for us as product managers and product leaders defining the future of this industry? Well, the first thing to understand is that the old ways of approaching building a great product no longer apply. And so it's no longer enough to do a user survey to understand what features to build. It's no longer enough to use an NPS score as a tool to measure how much people like your product. It's no longer enough to set a roadmap for 2 years and to use a waterfall approach. And I think a lot of us here have been thinking a lot about this. And so what does that mean? Given that, what does that mean we should do? So I wanted to introduce 3 key concepts that we think a lot about and that we work with companies quite a bit on when it comes to helping them keep pace with what's going on with products today. So the first one is behavioral science. So this is really interesting to me because product managers have historically thought about their user base as a set of demographics. So what country are you from? What age groups are in my user base? But in a world where the depth of engagement, the average product has hundreds or thousands of features and people are going through all sorts of different flows in it, those no longer are the most important thing. It's much more important to understand how is someone getting value out of my product? What features do they use? What do they get frustrated by? What do they like? What do they not like? What keeps them coming back? And so to do that, you need to understand their behavior. And so we'll talk through how to do that with a scientific approach. The second thing is, so as I was talking about earlier, the landscape is changing really quickly. And so that means in order to keep up, you need to rapidly iterate and experiment. It's interesting, there was this study that they wanted to understand what the best predictor of a high quality product was. And so they looked at a lot of different inputs from the team. They looked at how many people were working on the product. They looked at how long they spent on the problem. They looked at, how much industry knowledge they have. And they found out of all the different things, all the different inputs to building a great product, the number one predictor of quality was how many iterations that product has been through. So it's more important to have a high number of iterations on your product than it is to spend a huge amount of time building it. And the best product teams out there like Facebook or Spotify have embraced that mentality. Here at Amplitude, we released a new version of our product something like 10 times a day. And so this is a really, really important concept. The last thing I wanted to share with you is this idea of business impact. And this actually might be the most important thing. Historically, product has been a cost center within companies. So it's this black box where you invest a bunch and it's really hard to tell what you get out. For the first time, this is changing. And product is actually driving the most important outcomes at a lot of companies. And so being able to understand how does building a great product lead to building a successful business is ever more important. And what that means is that building a great digital product is going to become the future of building a successful business. And so we'll talk about what this means and how to do this successfully. The last thing I wanted to share with all of you is this idea of a product community. So there's all these changes that are going on within the world of building a great product. And so the reason we're hosting this here tonight is so that we can share some of those learnings. So we're going to hear from some great speakers over the next 2 hours tonight. And even more important than that, there'll be an opportunity for all of you to connect. And so I just want you to be thinking about that, is how can you learn from everyone else here, and how can you share what it means to build a great product?